383 billion. That's how many choices you have when you walk into a Starbucks, and that's according to a Bloomberg article. But Starbucks is more than just selling coffee. They are all about the experience. They care about your comfort, they care about the customization of your drink, and they especially care about the happiness that you feel when you walk into a store and buy yourself a little treat. But here's the thing, instead of leaving us happier, Starbucks hijacks our brain's decision-making process, leaving us feeling overwhelmed. Starbucks ultimately leads to choice paralysis and overconsumption, which ultimately leads us to feeling stressed, overwhelmed, dissatisfied, and unhappy. Hi, my name's Erin. I'm a licensed therapist, and I love talking all things pop culture. And while I love talking trending topics like Love is Blind or Meghan Markle, I also love talking broader pop culture topics like Starbucks. I know there are a million commentary channels out there, but what I want to do is a little bit different. I want to bring the psychology of all of these things to the forefront of our minds so that we can better understand what Starbucks can teach us about choice paralysis and overconsumption. Here's my disclaimer. I hate Starbucks. I actually avoid it at all costs. I think their coffee is quite frankly terrible. And this makes sense as I am a self-proclaimed coffee snob, so you will not catch me drinking their coffee if I have a choice. However, I assure you that that bias does not impact the rest of the narrative of this video. So instead, today I am drinking a nice caramel latte in my all right mug. So cheers, join me, let's dive in. Starbucks has built an absolute empire based on choice. Their menu options are endless. But believe it or not, they did not always sell coffee. Starbucks, when they originally started, sold coffee affiliated things. So coffee pots, teapots, bagged beans, things like that. They never actually had a coffee bar. It wasn't until 1982, about 10 years after they had initially opened their stores, that their fifth store had a coffee bar implemented in it. But still, they weren't even selling lattes at this point, just hot coffee. Two very important things had to happen in order for Starbucks to have a menu as expansive as they do. One, they had to introduce the frappuccino in 1995, which set the runway for them introducing the Have It Your Way frappuccino in 2010. This frappuccino offered the ultimate customization of added shots, milk flavor, all of those things that we're used to now. This is what ultimately sets the stage for them having a menu and empire as expansive as the Kim Kardashian kingdom. Starbucks is set apart in more ways than one. Starbucks is now a synonym for the word coffee, which it takes an absolute commonwealth of a company to become synonymous with such a generalized word. I mean, they made $36 billion in revenue in 2024. That's insane. And they were able to do this because they offer choice. It's honestly the foundation of their company. Whether or not they would say that, I'm saying that because I truly believe that. In a world that prizes flexibility and individualism and being able to change your decisions on a whim, this company decided to capitalize on that. And they did really well doing so. We have fallen into the common misconception that choice will equate to happiness and satisfaction. And this is evidenced through the overconsumption of our country and Starbucks absolutely dominating an industry based on ultimate customization and endless possibilities. This is where choice paralysis comes in. It's also known as decision fatigue or the paradox of choice, where having more decisions and choices about something actually makes it harder, not easier, to decide. Instead of walking away feeling empowered in our decision making, we feel very overwhelmed. And this is because it short circuits our brain and makes us feel so overwhelmed that we walk away feeling dissatisfied instead of happy with our choices, especially when we've spent an obnoxious amount of time deciding. Psychologists have studied this phenomenon extensively. There's a very famous study where researchers gave participants choices about jam. One group was given the choice for 6 different jams and the other was given 24 choices. Shockingly, the group that only had the decision for 6 different types of jam was far more likely to purchase one of the jams than the group that was offered 24 different types of jam. That group was pushed into decision overload. Now, here's where things get really interesting. Starbucks recognizes the sheer amount of choice that they offer their customers. And you would think having such an expansive menu would overwhelm people and turn them away from Starbucks. So instead, what Starbucks has done is hacked the system to prevent decision overload and choice paralysis. They do this through two separate ways. 1, default options, and 2, customization equals commitment. First, their default options are given through the app based on what you ordered last time or a suggestion on what might be popular, reducing your decision fatigue and feeling overwhelmed by all the choices. 2, they do commitment through customization. So the more that you customize a drink to your liking, the more emotionally committed you're going to feel to that drink. And in getting it, it's going to feel like something very special to you because it was made just for you, making you want to come back even though there's still an endless amount of possibility. That sounds great in theory, freedom, endless choice, possibilities, but in reality, it just leads to stress. Our prefrontal cortex is responsible for a lot of different things, but one of the core things it's responsible for is decision making. When we're in a stress-induced state, the activation of our prefrontal cortex actually goes down, meaning that we do not make decisions more rationally, meaning we do not weigh all the options well or think through things as critically as we normally could. This means that we default to safe choices or ask the barista to make a choice for us or just feel so paralyzed that we can't make a decision at all and we just walk out of the store. And get this, having so many choices not only makes the decision making harder, it actually leaves us less satisfied with our choice after we finally committed to something. And why is this? It's because there's so many alternatives, our brains automatically go to, did I make the right choice? What about this thing? What about that option? Which ultimately leads to overconsumption. When our brains are faced with an overwhelming amount of options, we want to avoid regret. And what's one surefire way to avoid regret? Buying all the things so that we can make sure we won't feel regret. Starbucks capitalizes on this fear of regret by offering additional add-ons for free or limited time offers so that you feel like you might miss out. They are very good at working the psychology of people's brains. Plus, when we struggle to choose, it usually means that we commit to a bigger size or more product so that we can simply just avoid the frustration, anxiety that goes into decision making and the ultimate fear of regret that might follow. But choice paralysis, it's not just a Starbucks problem. It's a reflection of America's culture of overconsumption. We truly live in a society where we are told more is better, whether that be food, clothing, entertainment, technology. And instead of making us and leaving us happier, all of this overconsumption leads us to feeling indecisive, anxious, and prone to impulse buying. I have 41 graphic tees. I'm sure I have more and I probably miscounted, but I counted for this video. I mean, who in their right mind needs 41 graphic tees? Truly, 5 would suffice, probably even 3. I have purchased them one by one by lying to myself and telling myself that having more options and having more graphic tees will make me feel cooler or make me feel happier and more satisfied. But it hasn't done any of that. In fact, it's just made me feel more overwhelmed because I have more laundry, I have more things to fold, and I have even more options every day getting ready to go to work or whatever I might be doing for the day. In a study done on happiness and choice, researchers actually found that individuals that had more choices had overall lower life satisfaction, simply because they worried they had made the wrong decision. And this constant second guessing is what leads us to consumerism and gets us stuck in a loop of buying, regretting, and buying again. And this is ultimately what Starbucks teaches us about choice paralysis, overconsumption, and happiness. More choices does not equal happiness, and more choices actually leads us to feeling dissatisfied and consuming even more than we originally wanted to. This video is not to demonize Starbucks. Go get yourself a caramel macchiato, have your little treat. There's nothing wrong with that. I wanted to point out the overall narrative that it actually can promote in our American culture. And I don't want to leave this video on a sad note of, wow, well, America sucks and we just buy way more than we need to. Instead, I want to leave you with some helpful tips if you were stuck in the midst of this decision fatigue or feeling like you're over-consuming. 1, set a time limit. If you're forced to work within a time limit, then you're forced to make a decision. And the longer you wait, the more indecisive you're going to feel. go with your gut. And if you get something that you hate, use that as a learning opportunity so that the next time that you make a decision, it's more honed in. 2, stick to your intentions. If your intention was to go into the store to buy paper towels, don't make a detour at Target towards the Starbucks because you want a nice little treat for yourself. Every once in a while, that's fine, sure. I love a good little treat myself. But if you stick to your intentions, you're going to be more disciplined in your ability to not overconsume. And 3, this is my biggest piece of advice, go without it for a time. You would be surprised how little we actually need. And the longer you go without something, the more you recognize that you probably actually could survive without it. Maybe give up shopping for a month, or maybe reduce your coffee consumption to going out once a week. Whatever it is that feels right for you, the less you do that thing, the more that you recognize, wow, I don't actually really need as much as I think I do. And this is your friendly reminder that doing that is gonna feel uncomfortable. In part because purchasing also boosts our dopamine, so you're going to have a dopamine hit by not impulse buying all the time, but also in part because it goes against the grain of American culture. But recognize that even in that uncomfortability, you're working towards overall greater happiness and life satisfaction. If you liked this video, then you would love my channel. I am so excited to keep growing my channel, and I appreciate any support that you guys give, whether that's a like, a comment, a sub, whatever it is. I am so appreciative. In the comments, leave your favorite Starbucks order or something that you would like to engage in the practice of consuming less of. Thank you so much for watching my video, and I will see you all soon.